support, resistance. Talking about the pullback to resistance, turning resistance into support, the idea that the market has memory, and all of that fun stuff. Talking about it right here in this video, breaking down a futures trade that I got going on right now. I'm going to show you guys the trade. I'm going to show you guys the thought process, the live trade, what I'm looking for entering and exiting trades, and overall support, resistance. Not always so cut and dry, not always so easy to be like, oh, support, resistance. But I'm going to explain more about why I love to see those resistance areas turn into support after the market moves higher. I think it's probably one of the best overall dip buy type setups. As long as the market is in a continuous trend, as long as the trend is bullish, I'm looking to buy those dips back at those resistance areas that are turning into support. So I'm going to show you guys a trade here and what went down and show it all. I'm going to show it all right here. Let's go. All right, what's going on, guys? So you can see right now we're looking at Optimus Flow. This is the platform that I use for trading futures. And right now I'm in a trade I bought at 398.50. So 3,398.50 there. Right, big on the dip. Now, the thing about this that I want to explain about the overall with the market, really with stocks in general, but more so with the overall market, especially with like the futures and the SPY and things like that. What we see a lot of times is that when the market makes a big move to the upside, the market likes to kind of retest previous levels to, I don't want to say to create a confirmation, but it really just comes down to that memory. The market has memory, and that's why support and resistance gets hit. That's why gaps get filled. That's why overall certain areas on stocks, on charts, end up getting touched multiple times before, continuing higher. And this is a perfect setup for that. It actually worked out great because I opened it up and I saw this and I bought the dip really quickly because this is like textbook for retesting, right? All right, so you can see basically right there where I bought at was where that previous resistance was. So the market moved up to that resistance. It then consolidated and then made the move higher. It almost touched it one more time there at open. You can see touching that resistance, bouncing up there, and then, making those wave formations. But overall, if you look at this, if you go like that, you draw that line on there. There's a lot of lines on there, but if you look at the lines now that they're on there, if I just draw one line from here to here, you can see that overall trend moving higher here. And again, like I said, that resistance, that support. So resistance isn't always a bad thing. People think that resistance is like, oh my God, there's so much resistance. But resistance really is just telling us that there's a key level that's getting touched, that's getting tested. There's price action at that level depending on the volume and the overall move in the market. But the thing about resistance that a lot of people are confused about is just because there's resistance there, just because we have resistance at this point does not mean the market's not going to break through. The more that gets touched, I guess, is the way to look at it. So the market touched it one time, twice, three, and then finally broke through there. If let's say you're a short and you're thinking, oh, I want to get short at that resistance level, right? Like I want to get short here. I want to get short here. It's not always the best game plan. I'd much rather think if I'm a bull that I'm looking at this like, okay, that's one touch, two, three. It's getting touched multiple times. The more that resistance is tested, the more that support is tested, support and resistance, the more that these areas are tested, the better chance that they break down. Now, obviously, when this pulls back, we want to see, a bounce, a back up like that. We want to see a push back. In general, just because we have support here doesn't mean that this isn't going to get tested, and then roll off. Now, like we saw this identifying this area as resistance, when that resistance here turns into support, which it kind of did there as well. So you got that resistance here, it breaks through, and then we get that pullback, we get another push up, we then retested that, and now you can see we're bouncing again. So currently I'm up from 98 to 403. So we're up about 5 handles right now, and this is pretty much just textbook at this point. Now, what I'm going to do personally this is just kind of how I've been trading futures lately. Is I look for these opportunities, I look for these dip buys, and then I put my stop at a very reasonable place. Again, you can see we have previous support kind of in this area here, like in that area. Previous support, that's where the market was bouncing at before it tested that resistance and then made the move higher. So I'm expecting that worst come to worst, we need this support area to hold for this move to stay valid. I really at this point don't want this to do any type of pullback because it would kind of invalidate that overall kind of trend that we're looking at with this. You know, if you really wanted to draw a line like that, you can see that trend in general. So we don't really want this to like dip down to here. I wouldn't really want that to dip down there. But if I'm buying here, I'm putting my stop right there at the 95. So I'm going to risk 3 handles for the possible move up there to the 408. 410 area later, and that's putting us up over 10 handles. So we're risking 3 handles for a 10 handle move. If you don't know what a handle is basically just $1. It's just a fancy way, stock market talk, right? Just stock market talk. Everybody wants to be fancy. And now that I'm in the green here as well, what I will do is I will move my stop loss to basically break even at that point. So worst come to worst, I'm going to get out for break even. Best case scenario, this continues to push higher there. Like I said, would love to see this test of this 410 area again. I think this overall is a great little pullback, kind of, you know, overall just not even I don't want to say just overall technically it's a good pullback. It's a healthy pullback for the market to go up there and, you know, test that level multiple times and then pull back and then kind of gain steam again. So for me, it's really just about having patience and waiting. Obviously, if you're sitting here and you're like, I really want to trade, and you want to make a trade, and you're like just jumping in, it kind of looks like that at the end of the day. And you end up, look at this thing. This thing might go all the way right now and give us a beautiful little video here. Right now, currently up there to the 405. I'm in at the 398 to do the math on it. We're going for that 10 handle move today, baby. Let's go. Let's go. I'm using Optimus Flow as my charting platform, as my trading platform. I love it. It's easy to use. I love just the breakdown. It's very simple. The bracket orders, the trailing stop losses, there's a lot of different features, really a lot of features that you can set up. You can really customize. I've made some other videos talking about it as well. There's a link down below. You can check it out for free if you want to check it out. You want to learn more about futures, I would definitely suggest checking out Optimus Flow and the platform. It's very clean, very easy, and they keep making it better and better with more and more releases and more stuff coming out for it. So a little bit of volatility here. I would like to see if we do get that break later, if this does break here, I think there's pretty good potential to get an even nicer move to the upside. So we'll give it some time and patience here. Looking at the overall market, the time frames that we're looking at here, this is, like I said, the 5-minute chart. You can see previously that 425 area. I would kind of like to see that 425 area get touched. Not even that I would like to see it, but it's really just looking at that's the next resistance, really, that 425 area. And like earlier, like we pointed out, that overall trend right now holding. So we definitely want to see what I already identified as my stop, as my, you know, bounce area that I want to get that push. So we'll see if this is going to make that move later on today. Pretty easy little trade here. And that's one thing that I really like about futures. It gives you opportunities. The small cap market today was pretty dead. So over here looking at the futures, seeing a little bit of opportunity here, that pullback that I was looking for. I love seeing that test, right? That retest of previous resistance. You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with that type of setup. Retesting that previous resistance when it breaks through, getting that pullback, and then bouncing off that. Hands down, it doesn't get any better than that type of dip buy. I'm telling you right now. And when it comes down to buying the dip, it doesn't get any better than buying the dip off of that previous resistance that then turns into support. And that's what we're talking about today. Buying the dip off of that previous resistance, looking for opportunities, and remembering the market is going to move in waves. It's constantly moving in waves. Big waves, little waves. There's all types of waves. You got these wave formations. So there it is. If you guys haven't already, do me one big favor. Hit that like button, the subscribe button, all the buttons down below, and check out Optimus Flow. Like I said, there's a link down in the description. I'll talk to you guys later on.